Just about every black person in America knows the look and smell of hair grease. Most of us were probably raised using it. Our mothers used it on our hair, and so on and so forth. And we continue to use it, maybe even on our children's hair. But what if I told you there is an alternative use for hair grease for predators? Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. And trigger warning, I'm going to be talking about adult-themed topics, one that are sexual in nature. Many of you know I worked for the Department of Corrections with sexually violent predators for a number of years. And one of the things that violent predators love to have access to is cheap and easily accessible lubricants. Hair grease is probably the number one contender, at least at my facility. Number two contenders are petroleum jelly and lotion. And but hair grease is almost always like tapped out. And because it's available in such huge quantities, it's super cheap, and things like that. And so, one of the things that predators will do, especially if they are impulsive in sex, some are a little bit more controlled in their behaviors than others. Others are a lot more impulsive. They're certainly going to try to push the boundaries as much as they can. And so a lot of them will pre-plan, what they're going to do sexually, and they're going to try to get away with it. And one of the ways in which they do that is they apply hair grease before a visit. So whether it's therapy, whether it's a medical visit, whether they're going to see their lawyer, whether they're having a regular visit, if they're going to visiting and children are there, they will pre-apply this lubricant so that they can conduct their deviant behavior under the table. It's one of the reasons I never sat down when I was running groups, and I always made sure that predators always have their hands placed flat on the table, because the moment they put their hands under the table, it's very easy to, go in their pants and do all kinds of stuff like that. And a lot of them do this. And so the moment I can smell blue magic, I already know what they're coming to try and do. So they need to be redirected immediately to turn around, go back out, and take a shower. Now, there are some cases where people are, where they're black and they've done their hair. In my opinion, again, as professional hair grease connoisseur, in my opinion, it has a bit of a different smell when they're doing their hair. First, in my experience, it's not as heavy-handed when people are doing their hair versus when someone is up to no good with it. It's almost like they just jumped off a pool and went swimming in it. You could smell it before you see them. Other offenders will actually carry it with them, and just come in with that. Hey, what are you doing, right? And it's not just Dr. Jones that knows what they're doing. Most people know what they're doing. So the other thing to remember is they're walking past correctional staff and other inmates, and a lot of times they're being taunted for smelling that way, or for carrying that around. And so a lot of times, they're being told, hey, where are you going, and why are you stinking? There's a lot of people sort of egging them on. And so if you see somebody that's walking past that, and you walking past people commenting on that noxious smell, that strong smell, that person is on a mission, and you are in some serious danger, because that means that they don't care who noticed it. They don't care who smelled it. They are a person that is on a mission. Particular red flags is when someone non-black is carrying hair grease or smells like it. That is extremely an extreme red flag to me, because it's always like, what are you doing with that? And there's a difference between someone, handling their private business in their cell versus people who are out and looking for things to get into that they're not supposed to be doing. And a lot of times they'll have that grease or their lubricant, and they'll be shifty, looking around, trying to see who can see, trying to see if they can be discreet or who can notice, right? But sometimes they're not discreet at all, and they don't care who sees. And that person is particularly dangerous. There's levels to dangerousness even within sexual predators. And the person who does not care, who does not mind if anybody sees and will do it anyway, that is a very dangerous person, and you need to send them back on their way, be cuffed up, and things like that. But this is also something that's not uncommon with juvenile offenders as well. So it's not just with adults, but juvenile offenders, homeless people that have a history of offense as well. Again, because these things are cheap, they're easily accessible. And a lot of times a person will just sort of drown themselves in it. And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time when men have done that, they've already fixated on a target, so they know who they're going to do this with. They planned, they've thought about it. They may have asked other people to sort of help them arrange things in such a way to where they have more access to you, or create diversions and things like that. And so this is something that they do. But usually when you smell this in certain situations and settings, particularly if a person doesn't have hair, they're not black, and there's really no particular reason for them to have that strong smell, particularly the grease of the blue variety. So that's one that you cannot, you don't mistake that at all. In certain instances, they've already sort of been pleasuring themselves to you, but they want to continue doing so in your presence. So there could also be that, but it's whenever you smell this, a red flag should go up, and particularly if they are walking past people that already know what type of time they're on, already know what they're doing, and they just do not care. And it's always going to be very strong and noxious. If someone has put it in their hair, you should also, again, at least for me, you will also be able to tell the difference between, and you should be able to see it. If someone's used it in their hair, you should be able to see it. Like, for example, my hair looks a little bit dry today, a little bit fluffy, but so I haven't used it, right? But for other people, their hair will look more shiny. You could probably, you would smell it in their hair, and so there would be a bit of a distinction there. It's going to clearly be coming from there versus other people who don't have that. So just as an FYI, as a safety alert, and again, this isn't for everybody. So it's one in which it's a skill, but a lot of times these people that do this will do this with people who are very unassuming, that come to visit them, and visits, video visits, visiting where children are there and things like that. And it will be apparent because they will come back smelling like they went swimming in it. Let me know what you guys think. Hope that helps. Like, follow, comment, and share. Thanks so much.